Hi and welcome to Whisky Shared. In this episode I'll be reviewing Bimber Re-charred Oak Casks. Welcome to my review of this Bimber second release. I'm Toby and this is Whisky Shared. Today I'll be reviewing this Bimber Re-charred Oak Casks limited release. It's limited to 5,000 bottles. This is bottle 4099. It's 51.9% ABV by volume. And for those of you that aren't familiar with Bimber, it's a London single malt distillery. It was founded in 2015 by Darius, the master distiller, who came over from Poland a number of years prior, and his fascination with whiskey and distilling spirits previously led him to create his own whiskey distillery. Bimber, if you don't already know, means moonshine in Polish, and the eagle on the logo is representative of the Polish flag. So what can I tell you about this whiskey? Well, it says Re-charred Oak Casks. From what I understand, the oak casks that this is made from were previously held whiskey, but they weren't charred. The company that used the oak casks decided to put their new make in the barrels but forgot to char them. So when the people at Bimber bought the casks, they had them shipped over to the UK, and then they got their coopers to char the inside of the barrels, and it's char level 4, which I believe is called alligator char. Obviously it's going to be very much like a bourbon, because although they're not virgin casks, they probably behave very similar to that because they haven't been charred until now. So let's open it up and see what it tastes like. Onto the whiskey. Okay, so I've poured the whiskey into my Bimber nosing glass. Before I nose and taste it and tell you what I think about it, I do really like the branding and the packaging. Let's start with the tube. The tube is really well made. The graphics on it and the illustrations are fantastic. The detail really gives that impression of a premium brand. There's a story about the distillery and the whiskey itself. It does say non-chill filtered and natural colour. That design is then carried through onto the nicely embossed label. The paper stock that's used is really premium and impressive, and I was lucky enough to actually get this hand signed by the master distiller himself, Darius. So I feel really privileged to have him sign my my bottle. So let's have a look at the colour. That is definitely a really deep amber. I'll try and put it a little bit closer so you can see the colour. Lovely dark golden sort of toffee, beautiful colour. Obviously it's getting all of that colour from the oak. So let's try it on the nose. I'm getting fruits, getting apple, getting toffee, I'm getting vanilla and caramel. Very much very much like a bourbon on the nose, but there is a hint of sort of fruitiness to it. If you've ever had Bimber New Make, which I have a couple of times, I've even got a little sample set with Bimber New Make in. It is a really fruity New Make, and that really does get carried through onto the nose. Yeah, there's a slight hint of stewed fruits. More like stewed orchard fruits, almost like apple strudel. Reminds me a little bit of cognac as well. But it's definitely more like a bourbon, but with that fruity undertone. Okay, so let's try it on the palate. Yeah, 51.9%. There's probably a little bit too much alcohol vapor to start with, but it's lovely and sweet. It's lovely and fruity. There's definitely almost like toffee apples. So that apple I was getting on the nose, and the sort of toffee vanilla that I was getting from the oak casks, that comes through on the palate as well, and it's definitely like a toffee apple. I'm gonna have another sip, and then I'm gonna have a chance to add some water, and then maybe sip it a couple of times with water to see how it develops. Okay, so this time, unmistakable, that fruity New Make. It's almost like a sour fruit, but it really is quite pleasant. Comes through really nice, but the pepperiness with that ABV is now starting to build. So I think, even though they settled on 51.9% for a reason, it isn't just by chance. Obviously this 3-year-old whiskey would have come out of the barrels higher than that. It's then vatted together. I believe it was 18 barrels, so this is classed as a small batch. Those 18 barrels were then vatted together for several weeks. I think it was 5 weeks, and they then added water to get it to that sweet spot, and through various different tests, through a panel of different tasters, they settled on that 51.9% for a reason. Obviously it's neck pour, it will develop as it goes through, but I'm just going to add some water, and we'll see how it changes. I'm only adding 1 ml. I'll have a sip and see if I need to add some more. Yeah, the nose hasn't changed. Do you know what? Now I've added water, I'm getting a slight waxiness to it, picking up sort of crayons or sort of church candles, that sort of thing. But that fruitiness is still there. That strong sort of bourbon influence sort of flavours, they've come down now, and there's a really grown-up character to this whiskey now. for such a young whiskey, you know, this is only 3 years old. I have to keep reminding myself about that. It tastes like a much more grown-up whiskey. One last sip. Yeah, so it's got this really clingy mouthfeel. It's not oily, but it really does make you salivate like you want more. I like that in a whiskey. You know, when that sort of, yeah, it's really nice and pleasant. The pepperiness isn't too much. Now I've added a few drops of water, that's really at the sweet spot. And that fruity new make sort of character is starting to dissipate now, and it is really in the background, but it's quite subtle. The bottle itself is £65. Obviously it's limited to 5,000 bottles. You can buy it directly from Bimber. It should also be available from certain online retailers, but I wouldn't be surprised if this is snapped up soon. Their first release, which was 1,000 bottles, sold out within a matter of hours. So yeah, if you want something that tastes very grown up for a young whiskey, or you want to just try a new brand, you know, maybe you've not tried any English whiskey, obviously this fits into that category perfectly. And yeah, if you want to try something new but tastes a lot older than it is, packs a lot of punch, then give Bimber a go. It's definitely one that I'll be buying more releases of in future. Stauncher.
I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, why not give it a like or a comment, and please consider subscribing for more videos like this.